Before I, 32 male, was born, my mum found out that my bio father was cheating. They started on the divorce proceedings before she found out she was expecting. When she told him, he said that was impossible since he was infertile and she must have cheated. He asked for a paternity test, but she was emotionally exhausted. I now suspect he was abusive, but she never told me so she asked instead that he sign away his parental rights since he was so sure that I wasn't his. Then she moved in with my grandparents. When I was 14, I asked her about him and I wanted the full story. She told me what I wrote above, and me being an immature teen boy, I threatened to run away unless she contacted him. I thought then that she was just being petty, and if he had proof I was his kid, he would be a dad. When she did, he sent this really hurtful letter to both of us, calling her a lot of names that made my blood boil and accusing her of trying to bleed him dry of his money. That was the day I decided that I didn't need him at all. Fast forward to about 8 months ago, I guess he had a near-death experience and tried to contact my mum to apologize for what he did. Of course she refused, but he managed to get a picture of me. I am like his clone. He contacted me saying that he was wrong and immature and wanted to get to know the only kid he had in this life. I refused. Then he started trying to bribe me to interact with him, offering to pay for my student loans, offering to get me a house, inviting me on expensive trips. I refused everything. I told my fiancée, female, 29, everything, and she was supportive at first. Then she started to urge me to get him to pay off our loans and help us get a home. I refused categorically. It's relevant to mention that due to the global issue, we have a lot of debt and we delayed our wedding to pay some of it down. I got fed up and asked him to meet. Then I told him I would never accept a cent from him, and if he tried to contact me again, I would be calling the cops and doing my best to get a restraining order. When I told my fiancée, she exploded, saying that me making that big a financial decision without consulting her showed her just how controlling and selfish I am. Now she left and won't answer my calls. So am I the idiot? Not the idiot. This isn't a big financial decision, this is you squaring away family affairs and making it damn clear about a relationship with a man you do not want. Unfortunately, your fiancé seems more interested in milking the situation of money rather than caring about how you feel. Good riddance to her, I'd say. Exactly, and you've just learned a valuable lesson. Your fiancé is manipulating you for financial gain without regard for your feelings. She just showed you her true colors. The more I think about it, the more I'm appalled by her behavior. She left in an attempt to manipulate you and guilt you into taking money from an abusive person. She has no problem exposing you to a toxic relationship, if it means she'll get money out of it. Sounds like you're better off without her. She's only interested in money. Lucky break, dude. She just showed you who she is. If she was only interested in money, she wouldn't have been with him while he was involuntarily poor to the point of putting off their wedding. There's a difference between struggling and trying the best you can and poverty tourist slumming it, which is a very difficult way of putting his situation, and assumes that the idiot dad is on the level but makes the point. I'm gonna vote no idiots here. I think you need to keep in mind, though, your fiancé is being practical while you're being emotional. You feel no connection to this man. While I understand pride and dignity, taking his money when he hasn't contributed to your upbringing at all and owes you some money would put you and your fiancé in a much better situation and wouldn't hurt any more or any less than what you're doing now. It's not the most honorable thing to do. It's not the be the bigger person thing to do. But practically speaking, it would make your life much easier and compensate somewhat for the disadvantages of growing up without a father. I, 33 female, have been dating my girlfriend, 32, for 6 years now. She also has a son, teen Max, from a previous secondary school relationship. I have a great relationship with both. My girlfriend has 100% custody of Max and his dad pays child support. I moved into my girlfriend's house 4 years ago and I am responsible for housework. My girlfriend is the primary breadwinner, cooks dinners, etc. So we have an efficient house dynamic. Recently, she's asked me if I could pick Max up from school in the afternoon. For reference, Max goes to school at a special school across the city, meaning it would be a 20-minute drive there and back. She said that she would use the train to get to work and I could drive the car. I refused because I typically finish my housework at midday, have lunch, and then the rest of the day is spent doing my hobbies, knitting and gardening. She insisted I pick him up from school because she had work and she wouldn't make it, however I stood firm. She's since told me that she might have to charge me rent because I don't do adequate housework. First and foremost, I spend my whole morning cleaning the house. She works, does the food shopping, cooks dinners, etc. However, cleaning the house is much more challenging and taxing than the latter three. After this, I told her that I was dating her, not her son, and that he wasn't my responsibility. She told me that it's a package deal and that he is my responsibility as long as I'm in the house for free. In my opinion, this was totally uncalled for. It feels as though she is using rent as a means to manipulate me. I refused to take because there was no name. I was afraid we were getting scammed. Tenants informed us when they noticed the tracking of their packages and told us then, so I accepted their business packages for the time being. Anyway, when they moved out we asked them to change their address, so they got their mail. For 1 year their mail still kept coming but no FedEx packages. I texted saying, please get your mail but please change your address. After 1 year I've started marking their mail return to sender, this person doesn't live here. I don't text them anymore. Last week a FedEx package to their business arrived at my door and I refused it saying, we have no business here, I don't know what that is, I'm not taking it. The old tenant texted me a few minutes later cursing saying, why did you send my damn package? I said, you don't live here anymore, stop sending your mail to my house. I think they may have been tracking it. He texted back, but you've always texted me. I live in an apartment now and I work during the day so I can't get packages. I have to drive to FedEx and it's an hour away, just take my package. I said, no I won't, update your address. My husband said I should just help out because they were good tenants but I refused. It smells scammy to me and I don't like that their business is still listed under my address when they don't even live here. Am I the idiot for refusing to help pick up their packages delivered to my house? Not the idiot. It seems scammy that they incorporated a business at your address a month before their 6-month notice to move out expired. It screams of some kind of fraud being perpetrated. Regardless, if the former tenant wants a mail drop spot, UPS has locations that sell mailboxes for just that purpose. Yes, I'd be more concerned about that than the packages at this point. There's absolutely no reason for their business's official address to be yours for 2 years. I think this is highly suspicious and you should alert the appropriate agencies. Not the idiot. After 2 years? Wow, your old tenant has some nerve expecting you to be their free UPS store and then getting mad when you declined. LOL. To be paranoid, it's a little worrisome that they'd be putting someone else's address on some of their deliveries. At this point, I would open the next package of theirs that came to my house because I didn't realize it wasn't ours. Make sure there's nothing illegal inside. I wonder if they're hiding purchases from their partner. Even if nothing sketchy is going on, it's rude to continue to use their old address to get mail delivered, especially when the owners have repeatedly told you to change your address. All because they won't be home to accept the packages. You are not obliged to handle their stuff. Yeah, I think it's far more likely that they want to avoid getting a post box and they can just use OP as their business hours mail receiver. OP, they can get a P.O. box for a couple of bucks a month. Not your problem. You've been very generous. Time for them to take responsibility for their own crap. Recently it was my husband's birthday and I made and decorated an average-size themed cake that I put a lot of love and time into. It turned out really nice and was pretty tasty too. I put it on social media and people commented as normal wishing him a happy birthday and how great the cake looked along with some of the usual "I'm coming down for a slice." Quite a few friends and family ended up coming over to hang out and we served them cake over the next day or two. One of my friends who lives far away and is not my husband's friend messaged to say she was coming to our town to visit family at the next weekend, which was about 10 days away, and to save her a slice of cake. I laughed it off thinking she's joking and saying the meaningless "save me a slice" comments people say and don't expect you to do. Plus this friend is extremely flaky. She hardly ever follows through when she says she's coming to something we're hoping to come to visit. She insisted she was serious and wanted the cake. I said we're happy to give everyone who comes over a piece of cake but can't really take requests to save cake, especially if it means holding back on family and friends who are at our house then. Plus the cake will be far too old by the time she was planning to come and grow mold. She said to freeze it for her, and I started to get annoyed and said that anyone who comes over would gladly be served cake, but I won't be freezing any cake for anyone. She acted like I was extremely ungenerous and uncooperative and proceeded to act annoyed. The cake was eventually finished quite soon by us and friends and family who came over. When she did come that following weekend, I ended up meeting her with our girlfriends and we went out, so she didn't even end up coming to my house like she said she would. But she still brought up the cake in front of everyone and saying I didn't save any for her, trying to make me look bad. Technically she can say I didn't save her any cake and actually refused to, but I felt the specific scenario was a lot different than she was making out. I'm always a good host and generous with food and gifts, and have given her and all my other friends a lot of food over the years, either as gifts or hosting actual dinners and parties, something she never does. I've made, decorated, and gifted whole cakes in the past, so I found this very upsetting, and when I traveled and visited her in her city at her insistence, she did no hosting at her house, not even a cup of tea. We just went out to eat and paid for ourselves. I didn't save any cake for her, and now I'm seen as a selfish and ungenerous idiot. Not the idiot, your friend is pathetic for being so mad that you didn't deny her husband, his family, and your mutual friends a piece of his birthday cake so you could save it for nearly 2 weeks and possibly give them food poisoning. This is so stupid. Who wants a piece of cake that's so old? Apparently someone who was super entitled. Jesus, it was just a slice of cake. If they're gonna behave like that over a simple piece of cake, then you might need to reconsider the friendship. Friends don't make us feel the way she made you feel, especially over one slice of stupid cake. LOL, your friend is a child. I would say drop her immediately if she's getting upset over you not saving her a piece of cake, though I honestly would have made a piece of cake and left it in the freezer, unwrapped, right out of the oven to make sure it's as stupidly unappetizing as possible. Heck, I would have even made it a horrible tasting cake, way too much baking soda, no sugar, nothing toxic, just super unappetizing. Your friend seems very dramatic and is trying to cause a scene by making you look like a bad hostess amongst your friends, and you're correct about "save me a slice" being one of those weird throwaway lines that loosely translates to "can't wait to get there." Go no contact, block her on all media, delete her number and erase all thoughts of her from your memory. Good luck, OP, you deserve better friends. My sister is getting married next month. My kids will be 4 months and 2.5, and she's stated that her wedding is child-free, which I understand and appreciate. I told her when she stated that I probably wouldn't go as I'd have my baby. I was pregnant at this point and she brushed it off, I guess. Anyway, last month she asked if I'd be a bridesmaid, at which point I reminded her that I wouldn't be able to go because of the wedding. She got upset but left it for a few days and then returned to me asking why. My daughter is exclusively breastfed every 3 hours and won't take a bottle under any circumstance. I've tried, so I quite literally can't leave her. She got upset and said the baby would take the bottle if she got hungry enough, which I'm afraid I have to disagree with. After some more arguing, I told her she could either let me bring the baby or not have me come at all. It was more arguing, I stated. Then you'll just have to reschedule your wedding, in response to her saying I need to be there. I also told her childcare would be hard to find for my oldest as she's autistic and has pretty severe meltdowns, so it's going to be a struggle either way. She got huffy and left, and ever since then the family has been treating me like I told her I'd kill her firstborn. I feel awful for upsetting her, and I know I could have been kinder, so am I the idiot? A child-free wedding is perfectly reasonable to have, but if you're going to make that a hard rule, you have to accept some people might just not be able to go, especially with a newborn. Not the idiot, OP, this is the consequence of her choices, not yours. I had a similar issue with my cousin who was getting married a month after I was due to give birth and wanted her wedding entirely child-free. I thanked her for the invite and declined her request that I be a bridesmaid because I would have at most a 4-week-old baby. After declining her invite, my cousin went off. No one in the family had ever seen anything like it. 9 years later and she still doesn't talk to me. It makes family gatherings a bit awkward, but it was her choice, and the longer it goes on the more unreasonable she looks. Seriously, she knew you were pregnant and still scheduled the wedding close to your due date. Although it's reasonable to have a child-free wedding, she knew damn well you'd have a baby by then. Could she not make an exception for newborns though?
It's not like they cause chaos by running around and carrying on. They mostly sleep, lol.
I'm sorry, Opie, if your sister really wanted you there, she would make accommodations for your children and they didn't just suddenly appear.
She's known all along. You literally can't leave your baby because of feeding, but what sister or auntie doesn't want her niece fed properly?
Tell her that if she wants you there so much, she can find appropriate childcare for a special needs child and a newborn and pay for it.